This video is an analysis of Opus The Day We Found Earth, and thus contains spoilers for the entire game. I would highly recommend that you experience this game for yourself before watching this video. It's only $10 and 2 hours long. Opus The Day We Found Earth is an indie game originally released on mobile by SIGONO in 2015, and re-released on computer platforms and Nintendo Switch in 2016 and 2017 respectively. Despite its very elementary gameplay and short main story, The Day We Found Earth masterfully delivers a heartfelt narrative on childhood and a mother's undying love in just 90 minutes, far surpassing the emotional depth of most recently made high-budget AAA games. By examining its gameplay mechanics and narrative in parallel to each other, this video will analyze how The Day We Found Earth leverages all of its resources to curate an interactive experience that expertly conveys its main theme. A mother's love is eternal, even if she is no longer by her child's side. The Day We Found Earth is set far into the future, long after humanity has colonized the stars and left behind their home planet. Years of genetic modification have resulted in the gene pool deteriorating, which could possibly lead to modern humanity's extinction. To avoid this fate, humanity launches the spaceship OPUS to locate the lost planet Earth and hopefully find their ancient genes on their homeworld. At the game's outset, we're introduced to the primary characters and mechanics. Dr. Lisa Adams, a member of Opus's science crew, is teaching OP-141 Emeth, a childlike robot integrated with Opus's systems, how to use the shipboard telescope. The telescope represents the primary conduit to interact with the game world. By shifting its position around the darkness of space, the player can scan faraway planets and compare the characteristics to Earth. It's quite easy to get lost in the depths of the universe, but a reset command sets the telescope back to its center position, focused on Lisa 010, which I will refer to as Lisa the Star. Lisa the Star is a very useful reference point that you can use to find your bearings. Its appearance is unique, its glow is soft, warm, and welcoming, and as you use the reset command through the game, it will gradually become a familiar, comforting presence. Planets with a significant degree of similarity to Earth will be focused on, and their details listed on screen. However, a positive result would need to attain a rating of at least 99.8%, and we're nowhere near close yet. Emeth is naturally discouraged, but Dr. Lisa encourages him, and the two make a promise to find Earth no matter what. An unspecified amount of time later, Emeth's systems reboot as shipboard power is restored. Many of Opus's components are offline due to low energy levels, and Dr. Lisa is nowhere to be found. But the telescope's basic functions still work, so Emeth soldiers on and searches for the blue planet Earth. From this point onwards, Opus's computer algorithms provide the player with target planets to scan, along with clues to their location, the first of which are coordinates. By navigating to the appropriate sector of space and aligning the telescope with the provided coordinate values, the player can easily track down and scan the target planet. As time passes and you scan more planets, Opus's solar panels come back online. Basic systems such as the lights and planet research lab are activated, along with one very important subsystem in particular. For some reason, Opus's assistive AI adopts the appearance and characteristics of Dr. Lisa Adams, going so far to identify herself as Lisa, but to avoid confusion, I will refer to her as Lisa the AI. Lisa the AI is just like Dr. Lisa. Both are warm, funny, and have a healthy amount of exasperation and sarcasm. Both even refer to Emeth with the same nickname, Tin Man, which he doesn't particularly like. However, Lisa the AI doesn't have any of Dr. Lisa's memories, so Emeth recognizes her as an entirely different entity, and their relationship gets off to a bit of a rocky start. A few more planetary scans later, Lisa the AI reveals that she can assist Emeth in his mission, bestowing a new gameplay mechanic upon the player. By connecting with OPUS' systems, Lisa, the AI's algorithmic assistant, makes it possible to track down target planets without coordinates through on-screen visual cues when you're navigating around their vicinity. A blue pulse flickers across the screen, and a number of possible matches are highlighted. Even without certain direction, the AI is a guiding light for you amidst the unending void. Everything's going pretty smoothly. Planetary scans are consistently returning matches above 50%, and over half of the ship's decks have been brought back online. But where's Dr. Lisa? Wishing to reunite with her, Emmeth directs the ship to grant access to the living quarters where Dr. Lisa is likely resting. But when they go inside, there's no one there. The music shifts to a somber, static-filled tune, and crew logs detail what happened to the ship. OPUS was damaged by a solar flare from the nearby sun, knocking several components offline. What's more, Emmeth and Lisa the AI uncover an ominous message from another crew member. Emmeth, don't worry about us. Focus on your mission. Lisa the AI manages to calm Emmeth's fears for a while, but concludes that Dr. Lisa has already left the ship. To keep Emmeth distracted, she forcibly hacks into OPUS' systems to unlock a new function for the telescope, the filter, which reduces luminance from extreme light sources and makes it easier to see faraway planets. Planet scans are now returning results of 84% similarity, but Emmeth's fear regarding Dr. Lisa's safety is still lurking, and he asks Lisa the AI to unlock the ship's lower levels. Briefly angered by Emmeth's constant comparison of Dr. Lisa and herself, Lisa the AI hacks OPUS' systems again, unlocking access to the ship's engine room, and once again, no one is there. The outstanding results from further planetary scans mean nothing to Emmeth as long as Dr. Lisa isn't by his side, and wishing to see her once again, he asks Lisa the AI to unlock the ship's final level. Lisa the AI is hesitant because repeatedly hacking OPUS' systems is dangerous, but she finally accepts that she'll never be able to replace Dr. Lisa, and complies. You descend to the lowest level, the docking bay, and Lisa the AI's fears come true. OPUS, detecting repeated hacking attempts, shifts into a high alert mode and begins an emergency shutdown of all of its systems. Lisa the AI vanishes, the lights dim, and all shipboard functions except for the telescope are offline. In the darkness and the silence, with the systems slowly failing, Emmeth is totally, unbearably alone. The telescope's functionality is also damaged. With no coordinates or algorithmic assistance provided, the player has no choice but to fumble through the darkness. Lisa, the AI's assistant, which was your guiding light for so long, has been ripped away from you. The user interface constantly glitches with static, and the music transitions into ominous noise, the deafening quiet of dead space. At this point, all of the details regarding OPUS' damaged condition can be found scattered throughout the ship. A solar flare knocked critical systems offline, leaving the ship drifting without power. Video logs indicate that possibly up to 400 years have passed since this incident, meaning that even after escaping, the crew has likely passed away long ago. Finally, a computer right next to the ship's docking hatch displays activation logs for the assistive subsystems, indicating that Dr. Lisa's final action before leaving the ship was setting up Lisa the AI. Planetary scan results finally surpass a 90% similarity rate, but it's too late. OPUS completes the forced shutdown procedure, and Emmeth falls into emergency hibernation. As the world darkens around him, his systems perform one last data archival. A memory? Or a dream? Either way, Dr. Lisa is right next to Emmeth, and that's all that matters. Her presence, just like Lisa the star, feels warm, comforting, and safe, and the cold sadness of space can't reach us here. Dr. Lisa is holding Emmett in her arms, explaining how Lisa the Star was named after her because she discovered it first. Emmett initially recognizes Dr. Lisa and Lisa the Star as two different entities, but Dr. Lisa corrects him. "We're the same," she says. "As long as you remember Lisa's coordinates, I will always be with you, no matter where you are." Somehow, the power is back online. Lisa the Star, now much closer than before, burns fiercely amidst the dark. Over the course of the game, the damaged ship has slowly been drifting closer to Lisa the Star, caught in its enormous gravity well. Now, due to its proximity and extreme heat, the engines are fully charged and ready to go. But there's one thing you still have to do: find Earth. And Emmett knows it's possible this time, because he has Lisa. Lisa the Star, Lisa the AI, and Dr. Lisa are all right there. They've been with you the entire time. The telescope's algorithmic assistance has been restored, so let's finish what we started. It's time to scan the last target, described as a faint light located behind the sun Lisa. Let's reset the telescope and return to Lisa's familiar presence one last time, before scanning the final planet and saying our goodbyes. A match. It's Earth. You found it at last. Smile, laugh, shout, cry. All this time, who knows how many years it's been. And you finally fulfilled your purpose. OPUS locks onto Earth's coordinates, and the warp drives begin to spool up. It's time to leave Lisa. Are you ready? Lisa's so bright, familiar, beautiful, the only comforting presence you've ever known. And it's time to leave her behind. But don't worry, things will be alright, because no matter how far away you are, she'll always be with you. Opus lingers for just a few more moments, gazing upon Lisa's fiery light one last time, before warping away for good. Opus The Day We Found Earth is an interactive narrative experience completely devoted to conveying a single message. A mother's love for her child is undying and eternal, even if they don't appreciate it, and even if she's no longer by their side. Lisa the Doctor, Lisa the AI, and Lisa the Star all represent different aspects of a mother. Lisa the Doctor represents memories from childhood, when your mother would hold you close, carefully apply a band-aid to your wounds, and lovingly make you warm food. Her character and what she represents are warm and affectionate, almost to the point of spoiling Emmett a bit, which is what any mother would do for her newborn child. Lisa the AI represents memories from the child's adolescence, when they start growing more rebellious and perhaps ungrateful towards their mother's actions. Emmett and Lisa the AI's relationship is a bumpy one, marked by several debates and arguments. How many times have you argued with your mother, thrown a tantrum, sulked in the corner, acted selfishly, all while she devoted her every being to raising you, caring for you, loving you? Lisa the AI is the last remnant of Dr. Lisa's presence in the world, her last act of love for Emmett, and yet Emmett initially rejects her assistance and doesn't appreciate her efforts. How many times have you and I acted like that to our own mother? More than we'd like to admit, I'm sure. But Lisa the AI never stops, even putting herself in danger by repeatedly hacking into OPUS' systems to make Emmett happy. And our mothers never stop loving us either, to the very end. The sequence in which OPUS' systems shut down, Lisa the AI goes offline, and the telescope's basic functions are heavily reduced, is meant to represent the worst possible scenario, the case in which your mother's love is ripped away from you due to varying circumstances. In Emmett's case, Dr. Lisa has likely passed away after all this time, and once your mother is deceased, you can never see her again. But the day we found Earth gives us a second chance, both in the game and in real life. It gives Emmett a chance to meet Dr. Lisa once more through Lisa the AI, whose love and devotion to him are unending. It also gives the player a much needed reminder that their own mother loves them. She has always loved them, and she will never stop loving them to the end of the world. The final narrative sequence also highlights Lisa the Star's narrative importance throughout the game. The telescope's reset function, which players can use if they get lost in the depths of space, contributes towards Lisa the Star representing a mother's calming presence. The star's glow is soft, warm, and comforting, and it's a familiar sight consistently visible while aboard OPUS. You know it's a place you can return to, a place that's safe, just like a mother welcoming you home. But the last scan to locate planet Earth takes you beyond Lisa's light, and OPUS' conclusion is the most important moment of the entire game. Emmett, who has been looking for Dr. Lisa all this time, finds her at last, and leaves her side to fulfill his purpose. But even though OPUS warps away from Lisa the Star, Emmett isn't alone. Lisa the AI, the vessel of Dr. Lisa's final act of love, is with him to the end. Emmett's departure from Lisa the Star represents the moment any child leaves their mother's side and steps into the world beyond. Society beyond the walls of your home is vast, complicated, and terrifying. No one knows what will happen, and sometimes it may seem that everything and everyone is against you. But a mother's love is unending and will follow you to the ends of the earth. So everything will be alright. Everything will be alright. Despite a price of less than $10 and a completion time of 2 hours, OPUS The Day We Found Earth manages to convey so much more than most games that cost a full $60 filled with hours upon hours of meaningless gameplay. Similar to titles such as Nier Automata, The Day We Found Earth represents the pinnacle of what video games can become. Emotional narrative experience that leverage unique interactive mechanics to convey their messages. Games don't need to have sharp, photorealistic graphics or sprawling open worlds to have intense narrative depth. They need passion, emotion, and heart more than anything else. If you haven't played OPUS The Day We Found Earth, I would highly recommend it alongside its sequel, OPUS Rocket of Whispers. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you have a nice day.